All right, so the first thing I'm going to do for this project is I'm going to set the tempo to 125 because that is the tempo I want to work in. And then I'm going to open up a grand piano. This is just what I like to start with hip-hop beats, just because I know a lot of these hip-hop beats have like a grand piano in there or just like a piano loop to start out with. So we're going to go ahead into instruments, go to instrument racks, piano and keys, grand piano. And I'm just going to start by making a little 2-bar loop. So I'm going to pick out my 2 bass notes because I just want this to alternate between 2 bass notes. So I'm going to pick an A. And actually, I think I want to go down to E. Just because I like writing an E. That's good. All right, so I'm just going to loop this, and we're going to go ahead and just type in MIDI and try to create a good pattern. So we're in the key of E minor, which means we can only select notes that are in the scale of E minor. So that's going to narrow things down. Not that I know that off the top of my head, but if you do, it's definitely a big help in writing melodies. There we go. That's our melody. All right, that's what I want. I think the other one just sounded a little too epic, like in a bad way. I kind of don't want this to be like super emotional. I just want it to just be like there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze this. So that's going to be our piano loop. And I'm going to take it down to there. So let's group this and we'll call this Synths. And we'll start coloring this because I'm just used to seeing these colors. And we can turn that piano track off. We'll just leave it, we'll just leave this in the group. Okay, so now we have piano loop 1. Now we're going to do piano loop 2. And this might be a little quiet. I'm going to turn this up real quick. I, by default, have these at these tracks at -15. So I'm going to take the group down to -10. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to put a makeshift master on here. So I'm just going to boost this up around 20. Just because we have this piano loop's at -15 and the group's at -10. So you can see we're still not clipping there. So I'm going to put a glue compressor on here, and I'm just going to... All right, let's get rid of this click here at the beginning. So we're going to use the fade tool, and we're just going to sort of fade up. And I'm going to just fade down at the edges like this. And we'll put a little reverb on it to mask that. All right, that's a little too much. That's kind of annoying. Perfect. Just that little bit of fade, that is all we needed. I'm going to take this reverb down a lot. All right, that sounds good. All right, so what we're going to do with this second piano loop is we are going to unwarp it, and we're going to transpose it down by an octave. So now we're going to have a 4-bar loop, but what we're going to want to do is, so the bass lines follow each other, I'm going to cut this in half right here, and I'm going to drag it over here, and now this is going to be our second loop. That is going to play underneath it. All right, now we're going to need to do the same thing with like fade tools. And we're going to come in and we're going to process this a lot. But for right now, I just want to get the writing down. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this across, and this is going to be our little 8-bar intro. So while we're here, before we start arranging anything, I just want to keep coming up with more loops. So I'm going to call this tonal loop 1, and let's just go in and see if we can find like a nice ambience we can lay underneath it. I like these Halloween ones. I like making creepy stuff. All right, so that sounds good. I want to go into the Ableton instruments and see if there's any good bells or anything. I like this one. And we'll just make this for the second half. Now let's listen to this and see if we can pick another sound. Kind of like that. Let's pick another sound. Not sure if I really like that. Okay, so that is pretty much our 8 bars. So I want to come up with something different for the next 8 bars. So maybe I'm going to try something interesting with the pianos. Like warping. So I'm going to just stretch this across. Oops. All right. So I'm going to do that and then do the same thing I did with the other one. Then bring that over here. So now we have maybe put these at different. All right, so all right, so maybe this is the pattern. We have a little 8 bars here, and then we have 16 bars here. Huh. All right, so I'm just doing a little bit of arranging now and just trying to play around with what I want to do. So basically, what I'm imagining here is this kind of goes into arrangement, but I just wanted to see sort of where I was. So I am going to actually, I'm going to delete it from here on because I think I have an idea of what I want to do. So these are all the synths that we want. So the next thing we got to get into is laying down the drums. And the reason why I did the synths first is because the drums to me are pretty similar throughout a bunch of hip hop songs, and I want them to fit with the rest of the song. I didn't want to overdo it with the drums. Sometimes I have a problem with that. If I start with something, I tend to overdo it to fill in the other areas, and that's really not what you're supposed to do. So now I'm here, I'm done the synths, and now let's get into the drums.